You've eaten cow, you've eaten pig, you've probably eaten fish, lamb, goat, even rabbit, but you've never walked into a grocery store and bought a lion steak, or wolf burgers, or eagle breast. And it's not because predator meat is impossible to eat. For a brief period in the 2000s and 10s, restaurants in parts of the United States actually served lion meat legally before it quietly disappeared from menus for good. So, what happened? Why did almost every civilization on Earth, without ever coordinating with one another, end up drawing the exact same line? Why don't humans eat predators? This isn't a story about disgust. Humans have eaten bears, sharks, crocodiles, seals, even lions during wars, famines, expeditions, and desperate moments throughout history. Predators are edible. The real question isn't whether we can eat them. It's why we almost never chose to build entire food systems around them. As it turns out, nature stacked the odds against predator meat in almost every possible way. And the first reason is pure mathematics. In 1942, an ecologist named Raymond Lindemann described something now known as the 10% rule. Every time energy moves one step up a food chain, roughly 90% of it disappears, burned as body heat, spent hunting, lost through digestion. Picture a field of grass stretching to the horizon. That grass feeds a herd of deer. That herd can only support a handful of wolves. By the time energy reaches the predator at the top, almost everything beneath it has already been burned away. To produce a single pound of predator meat, you first need roughly 10 pounds of prey beneath it. That prey needed 100 pounds of plants beneath that. Some estimates suggest producing a kilogram of tiger meat requires roughly 10 times more feed than producing the same weight in chicken. Even beef, which already costs far more resources than chicken, looks efficient by comparison. Predators aren't just expensive, they're the least efficient meat nature has to offer. If humanity had tried to build civilization around farming wolves instead of cattle, we'd need vastly more land, vastly more feed, and we'd feed far fewer people. Long before economics existed, physics had already made the decision. But let's imagine we solved all of that. Unlimited land, unlimited food, unlimited money. You'd still run into another problem. Predator meat often tastes bad, really bad. Take sharks. Their bodies are loaded with urea and a compound called TMAO, trimethylamine oxide, which helps them regulate salt while they're alive. But after death, bacteria break it down into ammonia, which is why improperly prepared shark meat can smell like a public restroom. Old world cooks figured this out long before chemistry explained it, soaking shark meat in buttermilk to neutralize the smell before cooking. Bear meat has its own problem. Its flavor swings wildly depending on what the bear's been eating. Spring bears living on berries and roots taste mild and nutty. The same bear after a summer of salmon can taste intensely fishy. You're not just eating the bear. You're tasting everything the bear has been eating. Even lion meat isn't especially appealing. Predator muscle carries very little natural sugar, so it barely triggers the Maillard reaction, the browning that gives a beefsteak its rich, crusted sear. The result is darker, leaner, tougher meat that just isn't as satisfying on a plate. Humans didn't spend thousands of years perfecting recipes for cows because cows were fashionable. We did it because they actually tasted good. Flavor matters. If you're going to raise an animal for years, it helps if people actually enjoy eating it. But taste still isn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem is something completely invisible. It's called biomagnification. A small fish absorbs a trace of mercury from the water around it. Nothing dramatic. Then a bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish, and all of that mercury stays inside it. Then a shark spends years eating hundreds of those bigger fish. The mercury never leaves. It just keeps stacking. By the time you reach the top predator, decades of contamination sit concentrated inside a single animal. Some studies estimate shark tissue can carry mercury tens of thousands of times more concentrated than the surrounding seawater. This isn't theory. It nearly wiped out the bald eagle. In the 20th century, the pesticide DDT washed into rivers, got absorbed by algae, concentrated inside the fish that ate the algae, then concentrated again inside the eagles that ate those fish. The chemical built up until eagle eggshells grew too thin to survive incubation. Parents were accidentally crushing their own eggs. By the time DDT was banned in 1972, nesting pairs across the continental United States had collapsed to under 1,000. The apex predator had become the final destination for every toxin beneath it. Nature had accidentally turned its own top hunters into biological filters, and people noticed this danger long before science had a name for it. Arctic sled dogs instinctively avoid polar bear liver. In 1911, members of an Antarctic expedition, desperate for food, ate husky liver anyway. Within days, they developed violent headaches, peeling skin, and eventual organ failure. The cause was hypervitaminosis, A, extreme vitamin A poisoning. A piece of polar bear liver, the size of 1/10 of a gram, can meet an entire day's vitamin A requirement. A full liver holds enough to poison dozens of people at once. Indigenous Arctic communities were burying that liver centuries before science ever caught up. Then there's a third danger stacked right on top of the first two: parasites. The higher an animal sits on the food chain, the more chances parasites get to complete their life cycle inside it. Wild bear meat can carry trichinella, and undercooked bear has caused real outbreaks of trichinellosis across North America and Europe. The closer you get to the top of the food chain, the more biological baggage rides along with the meat. And then there's our own bodies. True carnivores like cats and wolves have short, simple digestive tracts, built to process pure meat fast. Human intestines are proportionally far longer. Our teeth are built for cutting, crushing, and grinding, not just tearing, and our gut produces enzymes suited for starches and fruit, just as much as meat. Everything about us points to one conclusion. We evolved as omnivores, built for flexibility, not for living off concentrated muscle and organ tissue the way a lion does. History backs this up almost perfectly. During the Siege of Paris in 1870, the city ran out of food entirely. Starving Parisians ate the zoo's elephants, camels, and hippos. But the lions and tigers stayed alive until almost the very last resort. Even facing genuine starvation, people reached for the herbivores first. There's one modern exception, and it actually proves the rule instead of breaking it: alligator. It's technically a predator, but it's cold-blooded, so it doesn't burn energy staying warm, which means it doesn't waste feed or concentrate toxins the way a warm-blooded predator does. That's exactly why alligator shows up freely on menus across the American South and Brazil, while wolf and lion never made it onto a regular menu anywhere. And finally, biology became culture. Long before anyone understood energy transfer or mercury or vitamin toxicity, societies had already noticed the pattern. Predators simply made poor food. Over generations, that practical observation hardened into law and myth. Jewish kashrut and Islamic halal law both independently forbid animals that hunt with fangs or talons. Indigenous cultures across the Americas treated wolves, bears, and eagles as spirits rather than livestock. From ancient Israel to the Arabian Peninsula to the Arctic, civilizations with zero contact with each other kept drawing the same line. Predators stopped being seen as food and started being carved onto flags, thrones, temple gates, and totem poles. It's hard to serve dinner out of a god, so the wolf was never really banned from your plate by any single law, king, or religion. It was priced out by physics, poisoned by its own food chain, rejected by our own taste buds, and worshipped right out of the kitchen, thousands of years before anyone ever wrote a rule down.